Hey, what's up guys? Bradley here with a tutorial for the editor, which a lot of you are looking for. I know there's really not any on YouTube yet, so I kind of had to figure a lot of this out for myself. So hopefully I can share some knowledge with you guys. So first of all, we're gonna click on play, obviously, and instead of going to the blank grid, we're actually gonna go to this grid map with some of the stuff on here, and you'll see why in a quick second. And you can do Shift-C to get a free camera. That might kind of help. So basically you're probably wondering why we're on this map, and that's because it has a lot of stuff set up that saves us a lot of time if we were to start from scratch. So it just makes everything a lot easier. There's a sky in place, you have forest files, everything's just kind of easy. But what we're going to do is basically delete everything here except a few things. So we're going to open the editor first by pressing F11. And once we're in there, should be on this first button here, should be enabled, and you'll see you have a scene tree right here. A scene tree is basically all your stuff. So when you click this mission group right here, it'll give you all the information: the sky, the player drop point, which is the spawn point. See, it says spawn sphere, level info, jumps. This is a lot of the stuff that they already put in here, but we're gonna delete everything except level info, sky, player drop point, vegetation, and physics. So we're going to delete everything but those. So you'll see in a second what's left, and you'll see stuff just starts to disappear slowly. I'm not going to delete the grid map till last because that's going to delete the whole map, but we are going to delete it. We don't need the water, we can always make another one. That's pretty easy to make. Roads, and then these TS static things, they're just all random objects that are scattered around. And get rid of these sound emitters. We can always add sound later. Sound is like birds, beaches, all that stuff. And we'll be left with this basically. Under vegetation, there's a forest file: grass, grass top, wind. If we delete the forest, this will go away, but we kind of want the forest file because it includes some good, helpful stuff like 3D grass when we start doing the terrain painting. And yeah, it's just a lot more helpful to keep. You can easily delete this stuff by going to the forest editor here, but we're going to get to that later. So basically we also have to delete one more thing. We have to delete grid map. Where'd my card go? There it is. So if we just click here, click delete, we no longer have a map. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to go to file, create blank terrain, give it a name. We'll call it I don't know, call this my YouTube name. Material, we'll just start with grid because it's a lot easier just to see. Resolution 256, that's kind of on the small side, but it's fine. And create new. So now we kind of have our own little grid here. As you can see, it doesn't go forever like the other one, but this one's just kind of a small grid to work with. It is bigger than you think though. And we can drag it around using these three arrows. We have the Z-axis, which is up, X and Y, and we can drag this up. I'm going to keep the current spawn point because it's easier not to have to move the spawn point. I can try to get it exact with the wheels, but it's not really a big deal for this. So yeah, this is our little terrain. I can delete those plants, I will in a second. And that's really how you get started. We're pretty much getting started pretty nicely here. We can add water. I'll add water next. But yeah, that's really it for the whole getting started, getting your stuff ready. I'll go through some of the files with you so you're familiar with. When you make a map, there's a few different types of files. Like especially when you download one, you see the the .forest file. .forest is basically all your vegetation, all your trees, all your rocks, all your not really grass. Grass is more of a terrain thing. But yeah, and then there's a .mis file, .mis, and that is kind of all your information about your static objects. Objects being, ramps, buildings, anything like that. There's a .ter file, which stands for terrain. Terrain is basically, like, this is kind of our terrain here, this grid stuff. If we make it higher, it'll recognize hills, and your terrain basically calculates all your hills, all your depths, and you need that terrain file. And then there's a few other little files, but I didn't actually make them. I kind of just copied them and renamed them, like .mis, .decal. I think there's like a .tds file, but those really aren't important. I kind of went over all the main ones already. So that's really it for getting started. We can stop this video here. Alright, so once you've basically deleted everything and created a blank terrain, what we're going to want to do now is just do File, Save As, and save it as your map. I already saved mine as my username, lcbradley3k.miss. That's what it's going to save it as. And that's one file that we need of a lot, but we'll kind of gather those at the end. First, it's better to build the island and maybe do some tests as you build it. And yeah, save that. I already saved it, so I'm not going to do it again. And then we can get started looking at some of the tools. Alright, so we got our map started, so now what do we do? Basically, before I start adding stuff, I should probably go over what all these editors mean, because there's a lot of different types of editors, and you really are not going to use all of them. But we'll start with this first one here, which is just the object editor, which you use for adding objects. So when this button's enabled, you'll get a little scene tree over here, and if you go to the library tab and then the meshes tab, well, the meshes tab is going to look like that. You can go to the levels, and basically you can kind of pick and choose objects from other levels, but you're going to eventually have to know these objects to put in your folder, so try to just choose from one little area. Overall, you know, you want to, if you're going to get most of your objects from Dry Rock Island, get them from there, or just try to get them from one spot, because you're going to have to put them in a folder that you make yourself. Like, here's my Oakland Coast folder, and these are all my shapes, you know, that I have here. I kind of just took them from all the other ones and pasted them in there, but you're not going to need to know all this stuff till later, till we finalize it. For now, just have fun. Pick some stuff. So we'll go to Dry Rock Island, art, shapes, buildings, I guess. We can get this jump here and just double click that, and it should pop in. You might get a window that comes up first. Just press OK if you get a window. And we even have a jump here. You can move it around by clicking and dragging. You can duplicate it by holding Shift and dragging, and I'll guess another one. And you can rotate by clicking this little rotate button, rotate selection, and pretty simple, you know, just rotate around. And there you have objects from the object editor, and you can literally just go back here and look through everything you want. Ground cover is a little different because we don't want to just paste plants singularly. We can use the forest editor for that, so only for buildings should you do this, and maybe bigger rocks, I guess, or miscellaneous. Not everything's going to work. Some of them are buggy and just don't work, so just delete those that don't work. To delete, you can just basically usually select anyone you want to, say like TS static, and you can just press the delete button, but I don't want to delete it now. And then next we have, what's next? The terrain editor. Terrain editor is basically, you can change the height of terrain. Right now my brush size is 1, so it's really small. If I click and hold, it's going to raise the terrain in a very small spot, but if I change the brush size to, you know, not too big, maybe 11, it's going to be a lot bigger. Everything's just going to move a lot nicer. And you can change the pressure. Right now when I hold, it's going up really fast. You can make that slower by decreasing the pressure, making it about 20, or you can just kind of play around. It's going to go up a lot slower. So if you were to make like a little off-roading trail, you can do that. Or you can go downwards by clicking this button over here, kind of decrease it. And this is basically creating a terrain file as you do this. You can flatten, which is kind of general flat. It may look kind of weird. It's going to be like steps almost when you use the flattening tool. I know that's really the terrain editor. Next, the terrain painter. This is going to be used a lot. Basically, right now you have a thing called grid, which is this right here. If you want to make a new layer, you can do rock, grass, rocky dirt, kind of the essential stuff. So you can do apply and select, and now you have a new thing called grass here, and you can literally just click and drag, and you're now making a nice little texture. That's why it's called the terrain painter. Basically painting the terrain. And you can add a new layer. So let's say if we want rocky dirt, apply and select. You can change the brush size if you want to, let's say like 5. And maybe you just want to paint this hill here. You can actually go to the minimum and maximum here, and this is basically like the minimum angle at which to paint. So let's say like 37, because that's definitely more than 37 degrees, and this is flat. So if you want to paint this like a rock, do apply and select, and it should actually, that might have been too high. Change the minimum to like 19. That's still too high. And basically, we can just paint that though. We can paint that rocky, and oh, may as well finish it off here. Put some rocky dirt on top here. Oh, I gotta change my minimum back to 0. So yeah, you can kind of just paint around, but now you're probably asking, what if I want something besides rocky dirt, grass, and rock? Well, there's a little page icon up here, and you can click that to make a new material. And to make a new material, you can name it. Let's say, what do we want? Let's, I guess concrete. Concrete should be nice. Diffuse. Diffuse is basically like what it actually looks like, so we want to go to, I'm trying to think of a map that has concrete, so we have to go to levels. I think Dry Rock Island has some concrete in that. Art. Terrain. We go to the terrain folder, and what has concrete? Let's see here. So you can see there's some concrete.dds. DDS is a texture file. So concrete D, yeah, that's what the concrete looks like there. For detail, it should be, sometimes you should put, normal is always the blue one. So we know the normal is always the blue one. We don't usually need macro. Detail, I think that's the detail. Detail is the one that looks detailed, I guess, usually. That one, you gotta just play around with it for a while, eventually it works, but basically now have concrete. See, that came out really dark, so I did something wrong, but that's just a bad concrete file. Sometimes you can actually use the same for the diffuse and detail, so I can use detail, which one did I use? I think I used that one, and then that should, see, that kind of fixed it a little bit, now it's brighter, but that's really rocky concrete, so you can look at some other textures, you know? This is concrete 2, let's try concrete 3, that might be better. Oh, that's blue. You gotta just kind of play around with it. See, okay, concrete. No. Alright, so yeah, I made diffuse and detailed the same. Normal is the blue one, but I think I have to make it. So yeah, that's even a better kind of concrete, and it looks kind of weird up against the grid layer, but if I put some, maybe some grass next to it, it might look a little bit normal. Now you got a nice concrete path going now, and you can just keep painting. I think it was that one we made. But yeah, you can definitely play around with it. There is like a little road editor. I never really used the road editor. It's kind of hard to use. Sometimes it was buggy, it didn't work really for me. You can try to figure it out for yourself. It's really not that hard. Material editor, we don't need to learn how to use that. Sketch tool, data block. I haven't used any of these editors besides Forest. Forest is a key one. Now what I do, I just click on a random thing, and then right here say forest item data. So here's a list of a lot of stuff we can use. I wouldn't really use the Utah stuff, it always kind of bugs out. But let's say we want to add some palm trees. Should be able to click, and that added the palm trees. And you can click and drag, and I can literally add palm trees all over this place if I want to. And then you can change the item here. We can go bushes, you know, get some smaller bushes in there. And you basically start to learn the materials, you know, lush grass, but you don't want to add too much stuff or else that will kind of lag the game, so only add really what's important, because basically the grass texture already gets that 3D grass tree, so you don't really need small bushes. Aspen trees are nice. You can get oak trees if you want to cover a lot of area, like oak large. I think that's a small one. Oak large B, I think, is big. Now maybe oak large A. Yeah, oak large A is a little bit bigger. So yeah, you can basically just hold and drag, and you'll literally just be creating whatever you want. That's just kind of all around on there, and then you can start adding objects. You know, you can go back to the object editor and add buildings next to this. And oh yeah, last thing, we need to add water. So let's add some water. Go to the level tab, go to the environment tab, and go to the water plane we want. That'll just give us an ocean. You can call it like ocean. Create new. And now we have water, and we should be able just to drag that up, but you don't want to drag it too far up. See, instead of creating separate lakes, I usually just dig down to make lakes, so I put the water about, you know, 5 or 8 feet below it, and then I can just dig down using the terrain editor. And to make beaches, I literally just take the terrain editor, make it bigger. size 20. And I'll literally just dig I'll put the pressure nice and high and just dig that like straight down in there. And then I'll slowly just get higher with it to make the beach. This is kind of like the cliff drop off underwater because I don't want people to see this. I can make it a cliff texture, make it really dark. Make that nice and dark there. Okay. And then I can obviously go to the material, add some rock textures here so it's darker. And then I can even I can add sand. It's always hard to find the sand file. So for sand, go to diffuse. I don't know if there's actually a sand file or not. Okay, sand. No, maybe it's N. I have no idea. Sand N. That's probably blue. Usually the N is always blue. Okay, so we have sand for N. Hold on, we're gonna get this because I know a lot of you want to add sand. It's usually a key part. I think. Okay, we can use that sand, and we can use. Like I said, detail is usually a gray color. It's like the grayed out version of the diffuse, but sometimes you can just use diffuse for detail. Okay, so that should give us sand right here, the setup right here. So those are the file names, Sando1D, you know, and then that. Apply and select, and now we can literally just add some nice sand to our beach. Yep. And obviously this is really rocky beach. I can make it flatter slowly, just get in flatter. Let's see. Yeah, just kind of slowly lower that, get some lower sand, and then just slowly make it until you get to a point where it's kind of level with the terrain you have. I can make it a lot more organized by decreasing the pressure and taking my time with it, but for tutorial sakes, you know, it's not really necessary. But yeah, basically you can create your own map. Oh, and this is how you erase forest stuff. I kind of left this out. You can go to the forest editor, click the erase button, and just click and drag over most stuff. I won't erase. You can either make trees using the forest editor or doing it through the objects. If you use objects, you won't be able to erase it. You'll have to click on it and press delete. But these, I think you can just usually use this eraser, which sometimes doesn't always work amazingly. Pressure, maybe I have to make pressure like 100. Oh yeah, pressure, that works a lot better. There's some grass here. You can just paint over that. And basically this is just an open world painter. You can paint stuff. Let's see here. Paint. Let's get some rocky dirt on top of this. Yeah, this should just disappear all the grass. Before I even start, I like to paint the whole entire thing first, and I usually go around painting the outside rock. Like I'll go like this and paint rock, and then I'll go around the whole island like that, and then I'll basically just go down with it because I want all that to be hidden along the edges. But it's really up to you on how you want to make it. This is a small terrain. I recommend using like a higher resolution terrain because it is kind of small, but it's definitely nice for beginners and if you want to add more detail. Flatten that out. But yeah, that's really everything for the map editor now. Okay, so lastly, you just have to add some sounds. Once you finish your terrain, it definitely makes it a much more realistic kind of feel. So you can just go to your scene tree over here, go to library, go to level tab, go to environment folder, and then there should be a thing called sound emitter. And there's a lot more cool stuff here. You can kind of play around with it, but I really haven't used too much. I guess you can use lighting if you need to, but that's only if you're using like a dark map, I guess. But sound emitter, we can add one, and it basically adds a huge sphere, which you can actually change the size of. So let's go over down here, and I believe, yeah, max distance. So right now it's a little big. It's kind of going past a little tropical island part, so let's make it like 50. Move it over right under our thing, and basically it's going to emit sound from the center, so it's going to be loudest in the center, but you'll still be able to hear it from anywhere inside this circle. So we'll add a track, and since this is forest, we can add birds. I think is probably good. And now when we go into it, it should have a bird sound. Might be hard to hear because I turned the effects volume down a little bit, but yeah, you got birds there. And you can basically just keep adding sound emitters. So that's added now. We can add one for the beach. We can even do like a shift click to duplicate it. So go, that just basically duplicated it. You might not have saw it, but it did duplicate it. Drag it over the beach, and now we can change the track. Maybe to a beach sound. I think, yeah, beach close. And yeah, now we have a nice little beach sound, and you can raise it up a little bit. It should show like a little box where the sound emitter is at. See that little green box? And it basically emits sound from there. So as we get closer, it's a lot louder. Yeah, that is how you add sound. The hardest part of all, which is finalizing it and being able to release it. It's actually a lot harder than I ever thought it was going to be. It took me the longest of anything. But now that I know, hopefully I can speed up time. Alright, so next we're going to try to save everything, which is basically going to be about 2 parts, because first we're going to get all our main files together, you know, the .mist, the .tur, the .forest, everything I was talking about in the beginning of the video. And then we have to get a folder called art, so that's basically like the second part, and that's usually where a lot of the bugs have to be worked out. But if you're lucky, you might not have any bugs, because you might be a lucky person. But anyway, we already have our .mist file, which we did when we did save as. So let me pull that up here. So let's see if let me pull this out off the recording screen. Don't want you people looking at my folders. But let's see here. My desktop is like so overcrowded right now with a bunch of shit because I was trying to finalize my other map. Sometimes you just gotta save everything to your desktop. Alright, so here's what we're working in. BeamNG DRIVE, levels. Bear with me here because I only did this once, and that was this morning, so I gotta try to remember this. So here's our mist file. lcbradley3k.mist, and what else do we, so we need, okay, so we have that. What else do we need? We need a .forest file. So .forest file, actually let's get the terrain first, that's easier. So to get the terrain file, go back to this, go to art, go to terrains, go to the grid map folder, and there should be a lcbradley3k.tur. So we can take that, we can copy that, and then we'll just kind of paste it in this little levels area for now. Don't mind these 2 little zip files, they were for something else. Paste. Alright, so we got 2 things so far. What else do we need? Let's see, so if we go into, like, here's my other one. So we need the forest file still. Forest? That kind of confuses me. But I think we can get this done. Forest should, if we go over here to our mission group, it should just tell us where the forest is. I don't know how it got out of that folder for some reason. Okay, so it should gridmap.forest and under the levels folder, so that's where our forest is. It's still called grid map because we started as that. So we can go into the grid map folder, gridmap.forest, copy that, and paste that. And now we have a gridmap.forest, but just rename it to whatever you named your other stuff. And we should probably make a folder now too. So let's make a folder. We're calling this map lcbradley3k. And before you make a full-fledged map, you might want to test all this finalizing stuff to make sure it works, or else you might have just made a map for nothing, hopefully. Okay, so let's just drag these in there. No need to copy. Alright, so we got 3. And now the rest, I think I just copy and paste these usually. Yeah, because so we need these 2. I don't really know what the hell they do, but I just copy and paste them. Rename both of those. Alright, so we're making progress now. Alright, so we have all our files in place. I think I want to test this before we do anything though. So let me see if this works first. I don't know if it might not work. I don't know if same level. Open. Made a folder. lcbradley.mist. Alright, so we're missing a decals folder. Alright, it's black. Oh. Alright, so I guess that actually worked. Who would have thought it? So I am missing one file. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Back over here, when we rename that one file, it has to be a .mist.decal. Yeah, so now you have all your files. That's actually easier. It literally took me like an hour to figure out how to find all of these files, because they were like you saw before, they're kind of hidden everywhere, you know, they get saved in weird spots. But now we need a folder called art, like the other ones. And this is where you have to kind of remember stuff you use, but you really don't have to remember each thing, but yeah, so let's go to see, like, if we go to the Dry Rock Island, it has an art folder with all of this stuff in it, and we used everything from the shapes folder. So as long as we get everything we need from the shapes folder, that's why I said you try to use a lot of stuff from one thing, because we can literally take this art folder, the whole entire thing, and just copy it, and we can... Oh, I'm not even in the video. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very sorry. Okay, so we can go to Dry Rock Island. I don't know how much that was cut off. Okay, it's alright. So let's go to Dry Rock Island, get the art folder. So we need to make an art folder, but we can basically take all this stuff, because an art folder is basically just a list of a ton of stuff that we may or may not have used. You don't have to use all of it. We got everything from the shapes folder, because remember over here we did library, and then we did meshes, and then we did levels, and then we went to the art shapes folder. So we only need the... Hold on, let me bring this folder back up. Sorry, this tutorial's going downhill. It's alright, it's something. Hopefully it's helping you guys. But we can copy this whole art folder, bring it over to my LC Bradley 3K level, and one more tip: don't use stuff from other people's third-party terrains and maps, because then you have to kind of change the file route a lot. It's really difficult. Nothing like a slow file transfer. Yeah, we'll have this art folder, and then that's where I might have to work out a few bugs, because we got everything from shapes. But let's say, here's a good example. So let's go to MISC. So here's a good list of stuff, but let's say we went to, or when we were building the map, let's say we used something from the small island, and we took something from the shapes folder, MISC, and on this, you see they also have a, am I being stupid here? I think I'm being stupid. Okay, it's not small island. Let's say we use something from the Derby. Hope I'm right this time. Shapes. And it's under MISC. The Derby has a few more stuff called road barriers. Obviously you know what a road barrier is, but let's say we use road barrier. So we have to take these road barrier files, all of them that say road barrier, copy them, and we want to add them to our shapes MISC thing. So let's go back to levels, LC Bradley 3K, art. So we want to go to shapes, MISC, and since we didn't really use road barriers, but let's just say we did, we'd have to add those in there too. And then that should really be about it. But the problem is now what you want to do, just test your map, is basically try out this whole entire folder on a new version of, fresh version of BeamNG DRIVE, and see if it works. Chances are there might be some missing textures, and that's where we're gonna have to go into the .mis file and edit a few things. But I'm gonna stop this video here at this part, and hopefully that helped you out a little bit if you have any trouble there. Alright, so basically I took everything from that one folder that we made called LC Bradley 3K, and I pasted it in like a fresh version of BeamNG. So you're probably wondering why you have to do that, but it is very important, because you're going to be surprised, because I don't know how this is going to turn out. Maybe everything will work, maybe nothing will work. That's not the one, actually. That's not really what I made. So you should see something like, that's something called like a Torque 3D symbol. That's usually your map. It won't say your name, because you have to edit something still to get it to say your name. But yeah, let's see how this goes. It might show nothing, don't be surprised. Guess we'll find out. It might have to... Okay, that's unable. Okay. So it's actually good to take like a lot of screenshots of these errors. But okay. Level. We got but yeah. This is probably gonna be bad. Alright, this is actually not as bad as I thought. So the object's loaded up, forest file is still loaded. So let's just see what the problem is. Somehow we have to get these back, so I don't want to exit yet. Let me go to the editor. So here's what I pasted it to, another version of it. So we want to go to, I think it said it failed to load this TIR file, so we want to edit in Notepad++. You can download that if you just Google it. Yeah, sure. We don't want to edit the TIR file. Okay, so here's... Actually, no, wait, hold on. My bad. Here's my desktop. Okay, so we want to take this forest file. No, we want to edit the mist file. My bad. Okay, I'm getting screwed up here. And edit that in Notepad++. Download it if you don't have it. Let me bring it into the window here. So it said it was unable to load the terrain file, so I wonder why that was. So let's do Control F, and we want to search for LC Bradley 3K. Okay, so here it is. New terrain block. So why didn't it load? Because we changed the file path. That was the issue. So to get that to load, right now it's saying, let me pull up the folder. It's saying that it's an art levels, no. Hold on. It's saying it's an art terrains grid map, and obviously it's not in that folder. Where is it? It's in, okay, so it's in levels, LC Bradley 3K, and then that's it. So we just have to change this file name to levels and LC Bradley 3K, and then save it. And that should fix that problem. I forget what else it said the problem was. Let's just keep searching LC Bradley 3K, because you just basically want to search this name. So there's that. And I guess that's all there is for the terrain. Alright, well, hopefully that will fix our issue with that. Save. Now let's exit. And let's try again. Go. Okay, so see, this time it did load it because we had an error about the other thing first, the terrain, so it must have loaded the terrain. But it didn't load the mist.decal. I don't know why that is. We'll have to figure that out later. Okay, so it loaded everything but the trees and this texture. So I guess next we have to try to get the trees back somehow. Okay, so the next issue we want to fix is this whole forest issue. So obviously when we put it into a fresh folder, fresh install of BeamNG DRIVE, we didn't have the forest loaded, forest being the trees that we use with the forest editor. So to get that back, we're going to press escape and go back and edit this .mist file that we have. It should be, you know, levels, and then it should be LC 3K.mist, or whatever yours is called. And you want to do Control F and just type in forest, find next, and basically the path is once again wrong to forest, and the name's even wrong, so we want to change that. We want to make it levels. For me it's LC Bradley 3K because I made a folder, and then it should be LC Bradley 3K.forest. And hopefully this works. It's a lot of trial and error, so I'm just going to go over as many errors as I can, and hopefully this will fix them. So let's exit to main menu now. That we save that, and we'll try to reload it. And yeah, that added our forest back, so we're making progress. And the final problem is textures. So textures is kind of a pain, so I'm gonna stop the video there. That's how you fix the forest issue. Alright, so I've managed to fix the black texture issue. It really depends on what the problem is. This is just one example of how to fix it. But obviously the sand was black, and that was because when I first originally made the map, before I kind of made it its own folder and stuff, I had this as a texture I made up myself. So if I go to the editor here, and let's see, terrain painter, I'm already in it. This used to just say sand because I made a new layer, I called it sand, I assigned textures to it, etc. But then once I moved it over and added the art folder and stuff, it gave me a lot more options. So this is all white, and it said like no materials, black and stuff. So basically, I took what was called sand, which doesn't seem to be here anymore, and I literally just replaced it with beach sand. And then I press apply and select, and it basically took everything that was originally sand, which was black, and turned it into this beach sand, which also looks good enough. So basically, the best thing to do would be to use these main textures. Try not to create too many of your own. If you create your own, I think there is another way to possibly fix it, but besides that, it's really difficult. So try to use these main ones. It really kind of covers everything. You have grass, mud. Sometimes mud gets a little buggy, but I've managed to fix that. Yeah, this is basically what the sand was basically just two white things, and yeah, that's really it for fixing that. Texture, like I said, texture bugs are just kind of weird. It really just depends. If you have a question, ask me, but I'm really kind of in the same boat as you are. I'm going to have to do a lot of little research, going through files and folders, editing a lot of different CS files and stuff like that. So, just put a post in the forums before you ask me at least, or try to figure it out for yourself, and if none of those work, you can ask me and I can try to do some stuff. A lot of the editing is in like the materials.cs in the terrain. Like, let me show you an example. Like, let's say here we are now, and let's say the sand wasn't working. I would go into levels, mine, level thing, and then go into terrains, and then there'd be materials.cs. So if I edit that in Notepad, bring the Notepad, hold on, bring it over here. Here's basically a lot of stuff. It's just like the .mist file. Sometimes you have to change the location of the stuff. You kind of just have to play around with it. It's pretty crazy, but I think if you stick to a lot of these main things, you should be fine. And a good thing is to set up your folders first and then start working on a large map, but you can do it the other way I managed to do it. And just don't get all freaked out if it doesn't work at first, because there's always ways to fix it. As long as you got your .mist, your .forest, and all that stuff, you can always fix it. Don't worry about if it's like completely broken, you know. Always ways to fix it. So yeah, that's about it for fixing the texture issue. Okay, so you fixed all your texture bugs, all your terrain bugs, all your object bugs, and you're ready to finally do the last and final parts of the map. Or maybe you'll probably do this before you fix the bugs. But you need a image name, map name, map preview image, and a map description. So how do we do those three things? Well, let's go to, make sure we're on the right thing this time. Okay, so we need to go to our lcbradley3k.mis. Once again, edit that in Notepad. And this is fairly easy compared to all the texture work you probably just had to do. But we can go, should be near the top, level info, and here we got level name, and we have description 0 or desk 0. So we can call our level name it lcbradley3k, and description, I don't know, what does this map look like? It's a lovely field of enjoyment. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, and we can save that up. And now, oh, we need a preview image, that's right. Okay, preview image isn't hard. Literally just get an image and then grab a random image. Here's one I took with Fraps. Should be like a 16:9 ratio. Alright, and let me just rename it. Literally, you name it your map, name it your map, and then just do space or underscore preview. And that should work. We'll double check everything now. So let's exit, let's save it, exit, and let's reload it. Let's see if all our work is paid off. Yeah, this is it right here, I think. Yeah, lcbradley3k, that's the image I used. And yeah, everything looks great. Lovely field of enjoyment. We can go and look at that. We can now drive around in this world we created, and I didn't hook up my controller, so I have to use my keyboard. You know? Very nice. Nice day at the beach. But yeah, it is kind of cool when you're all done. You just get to see that, like, you can drive. You can actually get to drive on what you've created. It's an awesome feeling. And yeah, hopefully this little tutorial helped. Kind of a big tutorial. There's a lot of parts for me. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it. You can start from scratch. Maybe that will help you with fewer errors. Maybe, I don't know. Or you can set your folders up first. Maybe that would help. I maybe would do that. The problem is when you set your folders up first, you have to try to guess what we're going to do ahead of time, and that kind of makes it hard. But yeah, that's really about it. Shouldn't be too many bugs. Hopefully you can get through them, guys. Just push through. You can do it. And thanks for watching this tutorial. Gotta end it like that. And like it. That'd help a lot. You know, get the word out so other people can see it. And subscribe. Maybe I'll do some more tutorials in the future. That's it. See you later.